ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Namaste my dear friends. This is video number 45 on Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna Parmahamsa. This video starts with chapter number 40 and 41. Narendra's music. Narendra was preparing to sing. The master and the devotees were eager to hear his music. Narendra sang, Shiva, thy ready thunderbolt rules over meadows, hills, and sky. O God of gods, O slayer of time, thou the great void, the king of Dharma, Shiva, thou blessed one, redeem me, take away my grievous sin. He sang again, sweet is the name, O refuge of the humble. It falls like sweetest nectar on our ears and comforts us, beloved of our souls. Again, why, O mind, do you never call on Him who takes away all fear of danger? Tricked by delusion, you forget yourself, enamored of the world's bleak wilderness. Alas, what mockery is here! Comrades and wealth you cannot always keep. Take care lest you forget him quite. Give up the false, O mind. Adore the real, and all the grief will vanish from your life. Keep my good counsel in your heart. With sounding voice proclaim Lord Hari's name and cast away your false desires. If you would cross the ocean of this life, surrender to Him body, mind, and soul, and worship Him with trusting love. Paltu, won't you sing that one? Narendra, which one? Paltu, when I behold thy peerless face. Narendra sang, when I behold thy peerless face, beaming with love, O Lord, what fear have I of earthly woe or of the frown of sorrow? As the first ray of the dawning sun dispels the dark, so too, Lord, when thy blessed light bursts forth within the heart, it scatters all our grief and pain with sweetest balm. Then all thy love and grace I ponder in my heart's deepest depths. Tears of joy stream down my cheeks beyond restraining tears. Hail, gracious Lord, hail, gracious one, I shall proclaim thy love. May my life breath depart from me as I perform thy works. At Am's request, Narendra sang again, and, and many of the devotees listening with folded hands. Be drunk, O mind, be drunk with the wine of heavenly bliss. Roll on the ground and weep, chanting Hari's sweet name. Narendra sang again, meditate, O my mind, on the Lord Hari, the stainless one, pure spirit through and through. How peerless is light that in him shines, how soul bewitching is his wondrous form, how dear is he to all his devotees. He sang another song. The universe wondrous and infinite, O Lord, is thy handiwork, and the whole world is a treasure house full of thy beauty and grace. The stars glisten innumerable like gems on a necklace of gold. How can the myriad suns and moons ever be numbered above? The earth is glowing with grain and gold, thine ever brimming store. Uncounted stars, O God, sing forth, blessed, blessed art thou. Then he sang, upon the tray of the sky blaze bright, the lamps of sun and moon, like diamonds shine the glittering stars to deck thy wondrous form. He continued, fashion your mind, O man, on the primal Purusha, who is the cause of all causes, the stainless one, the beginningless truth. As prana, he pervades the infinite universe. The man of faith beholds him, living resplendent, the root of all. At Narayan's request, Narendra saying, come, come, mother, doll of my soul, my heart's delight, in my heart's lotus come and sit, that I may see thy face. Alas, sweet mother, even from birth I have suffered much, but I have borne it all, thou knowest. Gazing at thee, open the lotus of my heart, dear mother, reveal thyself there. The then Narendra sang a song of his own choice. In dense darkness, O mother, the formless beauty sparkles. Therefore the yogis meditate in a dark mountain cave. As Sri Ramakrishna heard this soul enthralling song, he went into Samadhi. Narendra again sang, be drunk, O mind, be drunk with the wine of heavenly bliss. The master was in Samadhi. He was sitting on a pillow, dangling his feet facing the north and leaning against the wall. The devotees were seated around him. In an ecstatic mood, Sri Ramakrishna talked to the Divine Mother. He said, I shall take my meal now. Art thou come? Hast thou found the lodging and left thy baggage there and then come out? He continued, I don't enjoy anybody's company now. Why should I listen to the music, mother? That diverts part of my mind to the outside world. The master was gradually regaining consciousness of the outer world. Looking at the devotees, he said, years ago I used to be amazing to see people keeping kaifish alive in a pot of water. I would say how cruel these people are. They will finally kill the fish, but later, as changes came over my mind, I realized that bodies are like pillowcases. It doesn't matter whether they remain or drop off. Bhavanath. Then may one injure a man without incurring sin, kill him. Master, yes, it is permissible if one has achieved that state of mind, but not everyone has. It is the state of Brahmajnana. By coming down a step or two from Samadhi, I enjoy Bhakti and Bhakta, Vidya Maya and Avidya Maya. There exist in God both Vidya and Avidya. Vidya Maya leads one to God, and Avidya Maya away from Him. Knowledge, devotion, compassion, and renunciation belong to the realm of Vidya. With the help of these, a man comes near God. One step more and he attains God, knowledge of Brahma. In that state, he clearly feels and sees that it is God it is God who has become everything. He has nothing to give up and nothing to accept. It is impossible for him to be angry with anyone. One day I was riding in a carriage. I saw two prostitutes standing on a veranda. They appeared to me to be embodiments of the Divine Mother herself. I saluted them. When I first attained this exalted state, I could not worship Mother Kali or give her the food offering. Haldari and Herda told me that on account of this the temple officer had slandered me, but I only laughed. I was not in the least angry. Attain Brahmajnana and then roam about enjoying God's Leela. A holy man came to a town and went about seeing the sights. He met another sadhu, an acquaintance. The latter said, I see you are gadding about. Where is your baggage? I hope no thief has stolen it. The first sadhu said, not at all. First I found a lodging, put my things in the room in proper order and locked the door. Now I am enjoying the fun of the city. All laugh. Bhavnath. These are very lofty words. Am to himself, tasting God's Leela after Brahmajnana, climbing down to the ordinary plane of consciousness after the attainment of Samadhi, knowledge of Brahma, master to am and the others. Is it an easy thing to obtain the knowledge of Brahma? It is not possible unless the mind is annihilated. The Guru said to the disciple, give me your mind and I shall give you knowledge. In this state, one enjoys only spiritual talk and the company of devotees. To Ram, you are a physician. You know that medicine works only when it mixes with the patient's blood and becomes one with it. Likewise, in the state of Brahmajnana, one sees God both within and without. One sees that it is God Himself who has become the body, mind, life, and soul, and to himself assimilation. Master, a man attains Brahmajnana as soon as his mind is annihilated. With the annihilation of the mind dies the ego, which says I. One also attains the knowledge of Brahma by following the path of devotion. One also attains it by following the path of knowledge, that is to say, discrimination. The Jnanis discriminate, saying niti niti, that is, all this is illusory, like a dream. They analyze the world through the process of not this, it is Maya. When the world vanishes, only the jivas, that is to say, so many egos remain. Each ego may be likened to a pot. Suppose there are 10 pots filled with water, and the sun is reflected in them. How many suns do you see? A devotee. 10 reflections besides there certainly exists the real sun. Master, suppose you break one pot, how many suns do you see now? Devotee, 9 reflected suns, but there certainly exists the real sun. Master, all right. Suppose you break 9 pots, how many suns do you see now? Devotee, one reflected sun, but there certainly exists the real sun. Master to Greece, what remains when the last pot is broken? Greece, that real sun, sir. Master, no, what remains cannot be described. What is remains? How will you know there is a real sun unless there is a reflected sun? I consciousness is destroyed in samadhi. A man climbing down from samadhi to the lower planes, to the lower plane, cannot describe what he has seen there. It was late in the evening. Lamps were burning in the drawing room. Sri Ramakrishna was in a spiritual mood. The devotees sat around him. Master in the ecstatic mood. There is no one else here, so I am telling you this. He who from the depth of his soul seeks to know God will certainly realize him. He must, he alone who is restless for the God and seeks nothing but him will certainly realize him. Those who belong to these places have already come. Those who will come from now on are outsiders. Such people will come now and then. The Divine Mother will tell them, do this, call on God in this way. Why does not man mind dwell on God? You see, more powerful than God is his Mahamaya, his power of illusion. More powerful than the judge is his orderly or law, the all-powerful Maya. Rama said to Narada, I am very much pleased with your prayer. Ask a boon of me. Narada replied, O Rama, may I have pure devotion to your lotus feet, and may I not be deluded by your world bewitching Maya. Rama said, Be it so, ask for something else. Narada replied, No, Rama, I do not want any other boon. Everyone is under the spell of this world bewitching Maya. When God assumes a human body, he too comes under the spell. Rama wandered about weeping for Sita. Brahma weeps entangled in the snare of the 5 elements. But you must remember this, God by his mere will can liberate himself from this snare. Bhavana. The guard of a railway train shuts himself of his own will in a carriage, but he can get out whenever he wants to. Master, the Isvara Koti divine incarnations, for instance, can liberate themselves whenever they want to, but the Jiva Kotis cannot. Jivas are imprisoned by women and gold. When the doors and windows of a room are fastened with screws, how can a man get out? Bhavna, smiling. Ordinary people are like the third class passengers on a railway train. When the doors of their compartments are locked, They have no way to cut out. Greece, if a man is so strongly tied hand and foot, then what is his way? Master, he has nothing to fear if God himself, as the Guru, cuts the chain of Maya. Chapter 41 At Ram's house, Saturday, May 23, 1885. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting in the drawing room on the ground floor of Ram's house. He was surrounded by devotees and was conversing with them. Mahima sat in front of him and to his left. Paltu, Bhavanath, Nitya Harmohan, and a few others are around him. It was about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The master inquired after several devotees. Master, to M. Has not the younger Naren arrived yet? Presently the younger Naren entered the room. Master, what about him? M. Who, sir? Master, Kishori, is not Grace Ghosh coming? What about Narendra? A few minutes later, Narendra arrived and saluted Sri Ramakrishna. Master to the devotees, it would be fine if Kedar were here. He agrees with Greece. To Mahima, smiling, he says the same thing. Ram had arranged the kirtan. With folded hands, the musician said to Sri Ramakrishna, Sir, I can begin if you give the order. The master drank some water and chewed spices from a small bag. He asked him to close the bag. The musician started the kirtan. As Sri Ramakrishna heard the sound of the drum, he went into an ecstatic mood. While listening to the prelude of the kirtan, he plunged into deep samadhi. He placed his legs on the lap of Nitya Gopal, who was sitting near him. The devotee too was in an ecstatic mood. He was weeping. The other devotees looked on intently. Nitya and Leela. Nitya and Leela. Regaining partial consciousness, Sri Ramakrishna said, from the Nitya to the Leela and from the Leela to the Nitya. To Nitya Gopal, what is your ideal? Nitya Gopal, both are good. Sri Ramakrishna closed his eyes and said, is it only this? Does God exist only when the eyes are closed and ceases to exist when the eyes are opened? The Leela belongs to him to whom the Nitya belongs, and the Nitya belongs to him to whom the Leela belongs. To Mahima, my dear sir, let me tell you. Mahima, revered sir, both are according to the will of God. Master, some people climb the 7 floors of a building and cannot get down, but some climb up and then at will visit the lower floors. Uddhava said to the gopis, he whom you address as your Krishna dwells in all beings. It is he alone who has become the universe and its living beings. Therefore I say, does a man meditate on God only when his eyes are closed? Does not he see anything of God when his eyes are open? Mahima, I have a question to ask, sir. A lover of God needs nirvana sometime or other, does not he? The seed of bhakti cannot be destroyed. Master, it cannot be said that bhaktas need nirvana. According to some schools, there is an eternal Krishna and there are also his eternal devotees. Krishna is spirit embodied, and his abode alone also is spirit embodied. Krishna is eternal and the devotees also are eternal. Krishna and the devotees are like the moon and the stars, always near each other. Your, you yourself repeat, what need is there of penance if God is seen within and without? Further, I have told you that the devotee who is born with an element of Vishnu cannot altogether get rid of bhakti. Once I fell into the clutches of a jnani who made me listen to Vedanta for 11 months, but he could not altogether destroy the seed of bhakti in me. No matter where my mind wandered, it would come back to the Divine Mother. Whenever I sang of her, Nangata would weep and say, "Ah, what is this?" You see, he was such a great Jnani and still he wept. To the younger Naren and the others, remember the popular saying that if a man drinks the juice of the alec creeper, a plant grows inside his stomach. Once the seed of bhakti is sown, the effect is inevitable. It will gradually grow into a tree with flowers and fruits. You may reason and argue 1,000 times, but if you have the seed of bhakti within you, you will surely come back to Hari. The devotees listened silently to the master. Sri Ramakrishna asked Mahima, laughing, "What is the thing you enjoy most?" Mahima, smiling, "Nothing, sir. I like mangoes." Master, smiling, "All by yourself, or do you want to share them with others?" Mahima, smiling, "I am not so anxious to give others a share. I may as well eat them all by myself." Reality includes both absolute and universe. Master, but do you know my attitude? I accept both the Nitya and the Leela. Doesn't God exist if one looks around with eyes open? After realizing Him, one knows that He is both the Absolute and the Universe. It is He who is the indivisible Satchitananda. Again, it is He who has become the universe and its living beings. Futility of mere scholarship. One needs sadhana. Mere study of the scriptures will not do. I noticed that though Vidyasagar had no doubt read a great deal, he had not realized what was inside him. He was satisfied with the helping boys get their education, but had not tasted the bliss of God. What will mere study accomplish? How little one assimilates. The almanac may forecast 20 measures of rain, but you don't get a drop by squeezing its pages. Mahima, we have so many duties in the world. Where is the time for sadhana? Master, why should you say such a thing? It is you who describe the world as illusory, like a dream. Rama and Lakshmana wanted to go to Ceylon, but the ocean was before them. Lakshmana was angry, talking his bow and arrow. Taking his bow and arrow, he said, "I shall kill Varuna. This ocean prevents our going to Ceylon." Rama explained the matter to him, saying, "Lakshmana, all that you are seeing is unreal like a dream. The ocean is unreal. Your anger is also unreal. It is equally unreal to think of destroying one unreal thing by means of another. Mahimacharan kept quiet. He had many duties in the world. He had lately started a school to help others. Master to Mahima. Sambhu once said to me, I have some money. It is my desire to spend it for good works for schools and dispensaries, roads and so forth. I said to him, it will be good if you can do these works in a selfless spirit, but it is extremely difficult to perform unselfish action. Desire for fruit comes from nobody knows where. Let me ask you something. Suppose God appears before you, will you pray to Him? Then for such things as schools and dispensaries and hospitals, a devotee, sir, what is the way for worldly people? Advice to the worldly. Master, the company of holy men, worldly people should listen to spiritual talk. They are in a state of madness, intoxicated with woman and gold. A drunkard should be given rice water as an antidote. Drinking it slowly, he gradually recovers his normal consciousness. The real teacher, a worldly person, should also receive instructions from a Sadguru, a real teacher. Such a teacher has certain signs. You should hear about Banaras only from a man who has been to Banaras and seen it. Mere book learning will not do. One should not receive instruction from a Pandit who has not realized the world to be unreal. Only if a Pandit has discrimination and renunciation is he entitled to instruct. Samadhi remarked that God was dry. Think of his speaking like that of him who is the embodiment of sweetness. It sounds like the remark, my uncle's cow shed is full of horses. All laugh. Yes, a worldly person is in a state of intoxication. He always says to himself, it is I who am doing everything. All these, the house and family are mine. Baring his teeth, he says, what will happen to my wife and children without me? How will they get along? Who will look after my wife and children? Rakhal said one day, what will happen to my wife? Haramohan. Did Rakhal say that? Go beyond knowledge and ignorance. Master, what else could he do? He who has knowledge has ignorance also. How amazing! Lakshmana said to Rama, even a sage like Vasishtha is stricken with grief because of the death of his sons. Brother, replied Rama, he who has knowledge has ignorance also. Therefore, go beyond both knowledge and ignorance. Suppose a thorn has pierced a man's foot. He picks another thorn to pull out the first one. After extracting the first thorn with the help of the second, he throws both away. One should use the thorn of knowledge to pull out the thorn of ignorance. Then one throws away both the thorns, knowledge and ignorance, and attains Vijnana. What is Vijnana? It is to know God distinctly by, real, by realizing His existence through intuitive experience and to speak to Him intimately. That is why Sri Ramakrishna said to that is why Sri Krishna said to Arjuna, go beyond the three gunas. In order to attain Vijnana, one has to accept the help of Vidya Maya. Vidya Maya includes discrimination, that is to say, God is real and the world illusory and dispassion, and also chanting God's name and glories, meditation, the company of holy persons, prayer, and so forth. Vidya Maya may be likened to the last few steps before the roof. Next is the roof, the realization of God. Nature of the worldly. Worldly people are in a state of chronic intoxication, mad with women and gold. They are insensible to spiritual ideas. That is why I love the youngsters not yet trained by women and gold. They are good receptacles and may become useful in God's work. But as for worldly people, you lose almost everything while trying to eliminate the worthless stuff in them. They are like bony fish, almost all bones and very little meat. Worldly people are like mangoes struck by hail. If you want to offer them to God, you have to purify them by sprinkling them with Ganges water. Even then, they are seldom used in the temple worship. If you are to use them at all, you have to apply Brahmajnana, that is to say, you have to persuade yourself that it is God alone who has become everything. A theosophist gentleman arrived with Aswin Kumar Datta and the son of Bihari Bhaduri. The Mukherjee brothers entered the room and saluted Sri Ramakrishna. Arrangements were behind Arrangements were being made for devotional music in the courtyard. At the first beat of the drum, the master left the room and went there. The devotees followed him. Bhavnath introduced Aswani to the master. The master introduced him to M. Aswin and M were talking together when Narendra arrived. Sri Ramakrishna said to Aswini, this is Narendra. Saturday, June 13, 1885. About 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna was resting in his room after the midday meal. A Pandit was sitting on a mat on the floor. Near the north door of the room stood a Brahmin woman who had recently lost her only daughter and was stricken with grief. Kishori too was in the room. M arrived and saluted the master. He was accompanied by Divya and a few other devotees. Sri Ramakrishna was not well. He had been suffering from an inflamed throat. These were the hot days of summer. M was not keeping well either, and of late he had not been able to visit Sri Ramakrishna frequently. Master to M. How are you? It is nice to see you. The bale fruit you sent me was very good. I am slightly better now, sir. Master, it is very hot. Take a little ice now and then. I have been feeling the heat very much myself, so I ate a great deal of ice cream. That is why I have this sore throat. The saliva smells very bad. Master's adherence to truth. I have said to the Divine Mother, Mother, make me well. I shall not eat ice cream any more. Next, I said to her that I would not eat ice either. Since I have given my word to the Mother, I shall certainly not eat these things, but sometimes I become forgetful. Once I said that I would not eat fish on Sundays, but one Sunday I forgot and ate fish. But I cannot consciously go back on my word. The other day I asked a devotee to bring my water jug to the pine grove. As he had to go elsewhere, another man brought the jug, but I could not use that water. I was helpless. I waited there until the first man brought water for me. When I renounced everything with an offering of flowers at the lotus feet of the Mother, I said, here, Mother, take thy holiness, take thy unholiness. Here, Mother, take thy dharma, take thy adharma. Here, Mother, take thy sin, take thy virtue. Here, Mother, take thy good, take thy evil, and give me only pure bhakti. But I could not say here, Mother, take thy truth, take thy falsehood. A devotee had brought some ice. Again and again the master asked them, shall I eat it? And said humbly, please don't eat it without consulting the mother. Sri Ramakrishna could not take the ice. Master, it is the bhakta and not the jnani who discriminates between holiness and unholiness. Vijay's mother-in-law said to me, how little I have achieved of my spiritual ideal. I cannot take food from everybody. I said to her, is eating everybody's food a sign of jnana? A dog eats anything and everything, does that make it a jnani? To M, why do I eat a variety of dishes? In order not to become monotonous. Otherwise, I should have to renounce the devotees. I said to Keshav, if I instruct you from a still higher standpoint, then you won't be able to preserve your organization. In the state of jnana, organizations and things like that become unreal like a dream. One time I gave up fish. At first I suffered from it. Afterwards it did not bother me much. If someone burns up a bird's nest, the bird flies about, it takes shelter in the sky. If a man really realizes that the body and the world are unreal, then his soul attains samadhi. Formerly, I had the state of mind of a jnani. I could not enjoy the company of men. I would hear that a jnani or a bhakta lived at a certain place. Then, a few days later, I would learn that he was dead. Everything seemed to me impermanent, so I could not enjoy people's company. Later, the mother brought my mind down to a lower plane. She so changed my mind that I could enjoy love of God and His devotees. Divine incarnation. Next, the Master began to talk about divine incarnation. Master to M. Do you know why God incarnates Himself as a man? It is because through a human body one can hear His words. He speaks through it. He tastes divine bliss through a human body, but through his other devotees, God manifests only a small part of himself. A devotee is like something you get a little juice from after such sucking, like a flower. you get a drop of honey from after much sucking. To M. Do you understand this? M. Yes, sir, very well. Sri Ramakrishna began to talk to Divya, who was about 16 years old. His father had married a second time. Divya often accompanied M to Dakshineshwar, and Sri Ramakrishna was fond of him. The boy said that his father opposed his coming to Dakshineshwar. Master, and your brothers too, do they speak slightingly of me? Divya did not answer, and to the master, those who speak slightingly of you will be told of it after getting a few more blows from the world. Master, referring to Divya brothers, they live with their stepmother, so they are getting blows. All were silent a moment. Master to M. Introduce Divya to Purna sometime. M. Yes, I shall. To Divya go to Pani Hati. Master, I am asking everyone to send people to Pani Hati. To M. Won't you go? Sri Ramakrishna intended to visit the religious festival at Panihati, so he was asking the devotees to go to too. And yes, sir, I want to go, Master. We shall engage a big boat, then it won't toss about. Will Grace Ghost be there? Sri Ramakrishna looked steadily at Divya. Master, well, there are so many youngsters in the city. Why does this boy come here to M? Tell me what you think. Certainly, he has inherited some good tendencies from his previous birth. M. Undoubtedly, sir. Master, there is such a thing as inborn tendencies. When a man has performed many good actions in his previous birth, in the final birth he becomes guileless. In the final birth he acts somewhat like a mad madcap. To tell you the truth, everything happens by God's will. When He says yeah, everything comes to pass, and when He says nay, everything comes to a standstill. Why is it that one man should not bless another? Because nothing can happen by man's will. Things come to pass or disappear by God's will. The other day I went to Captain's house. I saw some young boys going along the road. They belonged to a different class. I saw one of them about 19 or 20 years old, with his hair parted on the side. He was whistling as he walked along. I see some immersed in the thickest tamas. They play the flute and are proud of it. To Divya, why should a man of knowledge be afraid of criticism? His understanding is as immovable as the anvil in a blacksmith's shop. Blows from the hammer fall continually on the anvil but cannot affect it in the least. I saw X-Ray's father going along the I saw X's father going along the street, and he is a very artless man, master, but he has red eyes. Sri Ramakrishna told the devotees about his visit to Captain's house. Captain had criticized the young man who visited the master. Perhaps Hajra had poisoned his mind. Master, I was talking to Captain. I said nothing exists except Purusha and Prakriti. Narada said to Rama, O Rama, all the men you see are parts of yourself, and all the women are parts of Sita. Captain was highly pleased. He said, "You alone have the right perception. All men are really Rama, being parts of Rama. All women are really Sita, being parts of Sita." Master reprimands Captain. Immediately after seeing this, he began to criticize the young devotees. He said, "They study English books and don't discriminate about their food. It is not good that they should visit you frequently. It may do you harm. Hajra is a real man, a grand fellow. Don't allow those young people to visit you so much." At first I said, "What can I do if they come?" Then I gave them some mortal blows. His daughter laughed. I said to him, "God is far, far away from the worldly minded, but God is very near the man, nay, within a distance of 3 cubits, whose mind is free from worldliness." Speaking of Rakhal, Captain said, "He eats with all sorts of people." Perhaps he had heard it from Hazra. Thereupon I said to him, "A man may practice intense austerity and japa, but he won't achieve anything if his mind dwells on the world. But blessed is the man who keeps his mind on God even though he eats pork. He will certainly realize God in due time." Hazra, with all his austerity and japa, doesn't allow an opportunity to slip by for earning money as a broker. "Yes, yes," said Captain. "You are right." I said to him further, "A few minutes ago you said that all men were parts of Rama and all women parts of Sita, and now you are talking like this." Captain said, "Yes, that is true, but you don't love everybody." I said, "According to the scriptures, water is God. We see water everywhere, but some water we drink, some we bathe in, and some we use for washing dirty things. Here sit your wife and daughter. I see them as embodiments of Blessed Mother." Thereupon Captain said, "Yes, yes, that is true." He wanted to apologize by touching my feet. After speaking thus, Sri Ramakrishna laughed. Then he began to tell of Captain's many virtues. "Master, Captain has many virtues. Every day he attends to his devotions. He himself performs the worship of the family deity. How many mantras he recites while bathing the image. He is a great ritualist. He performs his daily devotions such as worship, japa, arti, recitation of scriptures, and chanting of hymns." I scolded Captain and said, "Too much reading has spoiled you. Don't read any more." After my own spiritual state, Captain said, "Your soul, like a bird, is ready to fly. There are two entities, Jivatma, the embodied soul, and Paramatma, the supreme soul. The embodied soul is the bird. The supreme soul is like the Akasa. It is the Chidakasa, the Akasa of consciousness." Captain said, "Your embodied soul flies into the Akasa of consciousness. Thus you go into Samadhi." Smiling, he criticized the Bengalis. He said, "The Bengalis are fools. They have a gem near them, but they cannot recognize it." Captain's father was a great devotee. He was a subedar in the English army. Even on the battlefield, he would perform his worship at the proper time. With one hand, he would worship Shiva, and with the other would wield his gun and sword. 2M. But Captain is engaged in worldly duties day and night. Whenever I go to his house, I see him surrounded by his wife and children. Besides, his men bring him their account books now and then, but at times his mind dwells on God also. It is like the case of a typhoid patient who is always in a delirium. Now and then he gets a flash of consciousness and cries out, I want a drink of water, I want a drink of water. But while you are giving him the water, he becomes unconscious again and is not aware of anything. I said to Captain, you are a ritualist. He said, yes, I feel very happy while performing worship and things like that. Worldly people have no other way. I said to him, but must one perform formal worship forever? How long does a bee buzz about? As long as it has not lighted on a flower while, while sipping honey, it does not buzz. But he said, can we, like you, give up worship and other rituals? Yet he doesn't always say the same thing. Sometimes he says that all this is inert. Sometimes that all this is conscious. I say, what do you mean by inert? Everything is Chaitanya consciousness. Sri Ramakrishna asked him about Purna. Master, if I see Purna once more, then my longing for him will diminish. How intelligent he is. His mind is much drawn to me. He says, I too feel a strange sensation in my heart for you. To M, they have taken him away from your school. Will that harm you? And if Vidyasagar tells me that Purna's relatives have taken him away from the school on my account, I have an explanation to give him. Master, what will you say? And I shall say that one thinks of God in holy company. That is by no means bad. Further, I shall tell him that the textbooks prescribed by the school authorities say that one should love God with all one's soul. The master laughs. Master, at Captain's house, I sent for the younger Naren. I said to him, where is your house? I want to see it. Please do come, he said, but he became nervous as we were going there. Let his father should know about it all up. To a visitor, you have not been here for a long time, about 7 or 8 months. Visitor, about a year, sir. Master, another gentleman used to come with you. Visitor, yes, sir. Neil, my Babu. Master, why doesn't he come anymore? Ask him to come sometime. I want to see him. Who is this boy with you? Visitor, he comes from Assam. Master, where is Assam? In which direction? Divya spoke to the master about Ashu. Ashu's father was arranging for his marriage, but Ashu had no wish to marry. Master, see, he doesn't want to marry. They are forcing him. Sri Ramakrishna said to a devotee that he should show respect to his elder brother. He said, the elder brother is like one's father, respect him. A Pandit was sitting with the devotees. He came from Upper India. Master smiling to M. The Pandit is a great student of the Bhagavata. M and the devotees looked at the Pandit. Master to the Pandit, well sir, what is Yogamaya? The Pandit gave some sort of explanation. Master, why is not Radhika called Yogamaya? The Pandit also answered this question after a fashion. Significance of Radhika. Master, Radhika is full of unmixed sattva, the embodiment of prema. Yoga Maya contains all the three gunas, sattva, rajas and tamas, but Radhika has nothing but pure sattva to M. Narendra now respects Radhika very much. He says that if anyone wants to know how to love Satchitananda, he can learn it from her. Satchitananda wanted to taste divine bliss for itself. That is why it created Radhika. She was created from the person of Satchitananda Krishna. Satchitananda Krishna is the container and he himself in the form of Radhika is the contained. He manifested himself in that way in order to taste his own bliss, that is to say, in order to experience divine bliss by loving Satyachita Ananda. Therefore, it is written in the Vaishnava books that after her birth, Radhika did not open her eyes. The idea is that she did not wish to see any human being. Yashoda came with Krishna in her arms to see Radhika. Only then did she open her eyes to behold Krishna. In a playful mood, Krishna touched her eyes. To the Assamese boy, have not you seen this? Small children touch others' eyes with their hands. The Pandit was about to take leave of Sri Ramakrishna. Pandit, I must go home. Master tenderly, have you earned anything? Pandit, the market is very dull. I have earned nothing. A few minutes later he saluted the master and departed. Master to him, you see how great the difference is between worldly people and the youngsters. This Pandit has been worrying about money day and night. He has come to Calcutta to earn money. Otherwise, his people at home will have nothing to eat. So he has to knock at different doors. When will he concentrate his mind on God? But the youngsters are untouched by woman and gold. Hence they can direct their mind to go whenever they desire. The youngsters do not enjoy worldly people's company. Raghal used to say, I feel nervous at the sight of the worldly minded. When I was first beginning to have spiritual experiences, I used to shut the door of my room when I saw worldly people coming. Thank you for watching this video. I conclude this video at this point. Thank you. Namaskar. Next video number 46 will start with chapter number 41, Master's Boyhood Reminiscences. Thank you. Namaskar.